All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to this JTED technical assistance session for the JTED NOFO that is out. My name is Kirsten Bayer with the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support at Illinois State University, and I will be your support staff, moderator, and technical support for this session. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any technical difficulties. You can reach out to me via the chat or via email. I'll put my email in the chat momentarily. Couple of housekeeping things before we get started with our presenter today, Stephanie Beck. I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that you do have the capability to unmute yourselves, but we ask that you refrain from doing this. So please refrain from unmuting yourselves until the very end of the session. We'll have an opportunity for discussion and a live Q&A. So if you could refrain from unmuting yourselves until the end, that way Stephanie's able to get through her presentation, and then we can have that discussion in time for questions and answers. If you do have a question throughout the session, you can feel free to post those in the chat and we can address those as well too. So that way you don't forget your question. And then I also wanted to just reiterate that this session is being recorded and the recording will be up on the JTED NOFO website on Illinois WorkNet within 48 hours. And we'll get it up there as soon as we possibly can. I'll put that website in the chat momentarily. The slide deck will also be in correspondence with that recording on the same exact website, so you can find the presentation slide deck and the recording there as well. I'm actually going to put the presentation slides in the chat momentarily here. Stephanie has provided them for us, so that way you can download them and follow along during the live session if you wish to. So I'll put those in the chat momentarily as well. And then I also wanted to just let everyone know that we are offering closed captioning, live closed captioning capabilities for accessibility reasons. So if you need those are available to you. You can access them by clicking live transcript on the bottom of your Zoom session and just clicking enable transcription, and it will allow you to see the live closed captioning. Sometimes the closed captions aren't as completely accurate as we would love them to be due to the Zoom software. So the Zoom or the YouTube recording will be completely accurately closed captioned if you need that for transcription reasons in the future. And that is all I have for housekeeping items. And I'm going to hand it off to Stephanie Beck, our presenter, and I'll put those things in the chat.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. I am honored to get to be here today with all of you to talk about business engagement related to the JTED opportunity. I just put a note in the chat asking everyone to introduce yourself. We weren't really sure how large this group would be, so kind of waited to see how we do introductions, but we do have a pretty great turnout. So if everyone would please introduce yourself via the chat, just your name, your organization, and geographic area that your program that you're hoping would be funded by JTED will serve. So if you'll put that in the chat, that would help us out a lot. I am going to, there's a lot of information on some of these slides, and I don't believe in just reading slides. So you will have access to these slides, and we will have, as Kirsten said, the slides at the end or the open discussion Q&A at the end of the conversation. So please don't wait to hold your questions to the very end. Please go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on those, and we'll start with those when we go through. Don't worry about if you put a question in that it might get covered later. If it does, when we come to that question, you can absolutely say answered, go move on. That's not a problem at all. So with that, we will get started. We're here today to talk about the JTED opportunity, specifically around business engagement and what that means to your application. So, well, there we go. Sometimes I have problems multitasking with advancing my slides. As Kirsten said, I am Stephanie Beck. I am with Mayor and Mayor. We are an affiliate of AIR, the American Institutes for Research, but I'm here with you today as Illinois' coach to the IWeb on business engagement. So I get to work with DECO and Amy Julian's team to support the IWeb in business engagement and to partner with local partners as well. So that's the reason that I'm doing this presentation for you today. So our agenda today, we're going to go through a quick welcome, why we're here, what the opportunity is. We are going to do some things to hopefully build your business outreach skills. We're going to have a Q&A and then a quick wrap up. So our overview, first of all, our goal is to provide an understanding of business engagement tactics and the importance of business engagement in this JTED opportunity. We will cover the opportunity and developing your solution. We will also cover 3 phases of business engagement and a review of applying for JTED next steps. So first of all, the whole reason that we're here, right, is thinking about getting our minds in a whole different place. Today's reality is not the same as it was 18 months ago. Our communities have changed. Our businesses have changed. Individuals in every community from every walk of life, the world around them is changing. It's stressful. It's overwhelming. It's hard for businesses to get workers. It's hard for workers to get jobs. That's not new. But the environment, the reality that we are in right now, coming out of the pandemic and recognizing that businesses are struggling to find workers. Workers are facing many challenges to returning to work. So everyone can sit, they can do the salute, they can point fingers either way. Why won't workers just go back to work? Why can't businesses do things differently? This is about changing that dynamic. It's not about doing the salute of pointing blame other places. It's about how do we bring business and the individuals that they need to employ in order for their businesses and the economy to thrive. How do we bring those together so that Illinois can be successful and can come out of this turbulent time that we've been in stronger than before? So really trying to place yourself in the minds of businesses who are struggling and individuals who are facing those fears. They are facing challenges, new, different challenges with childcare, technology, and job or career transitions. So specifically thinking about the JTED opportunity, it really provides an opportunity to provide, and I've highlighted and bolded the words that are most important to us today, innovative, employer-driven training approaches, work-based learning. Those things cannot happen if you aren't engaging business effectively and not developing a solution in a bubble and then going and trying to pitch it to business, but instead thinking proactively as you're developing your opportunity. How will you create a solution, a program that is innovative, employer-driven training, and includes work-based learning? Thinking of that ahead of time as you're developing your application. The funds, there are $20 million available. It's anticipated that 35 to 45 grants will be provided. The funding range will be from $500,000 to $750,000, and the anticipated grant performance period will be from this coming January 2022 to December 2023, so a 2-year period. When you're looking at how you're going to develop your program, you have 4 different categories to choose from in your service delivery model. Category number 2, employer focus, is very obviously tied to employer engagement. It's about upskilling employees. It's about connecting employers in the targeted industries that are affected by COVID to job seekers that need those jobs, or underemployed individuals, incumbent workers who can be skilled up onto a career pathway to a better job that actually pays a living wage and can sustain their family. That's obvious. Why, if you were going for category 2, you would be here with us today for business engagement. But the other 3 also involve business, and you must take business into consideration and involve them in the development of your proposal. So category 1, really important, along with work-based learning, individuals, you can't have work-based learning if you don't have work. So how are you going to integrate work-based learning into your job seeker focused program? How are you going to ensure that focus is building in a part of a career pathway in demand occupations in the targeted industries. You do that through research and communication and partnering with businesses. Category number 3 is, again, to offer youth career development opportunities and work-based learning opportunities, which requires work, which requires your employers, your businesses. And category 4, barrier reduction funding. This is awesome. This is innovative. How do we really start addressing those fears, those concerns that job seekers are having when they are contemplating how they can get back in the workforce? But again, there's that whole job retention strategy. So working with employers to really understand what they offer and how you can add value to that through your program to retain the employees they have, to retain the new employees they recruit, to make it possible for people to be successful in the workforce in this new environment. Also, keep in the back of your mind that all programs shall provide a priority to small and medium-sized businesses and minority businesses. So keep that in your mind, that needs to be a priority as you're developing your proposal. So let's get into what it means to think about developing a business solution. So many times people approach business engagement, business development as, I have this amazing program, I do all this great work for these individuals who need jobs, and I'm going to go to the business and I'm going to tug on their heartstrings and I'm going to convince them that they should hire my people because they really need a job. That doesn't work. It will never work. It didn't work pre-pandemic. It isn't going to work now. You have to think about how you can best serve the individuals that you want to serve by delivering business a solution that solves a problem for them and with them, instead of just approaching it as a pitch or as it's the right thing to do. Businesses want to do the right thing. They also have a bottom line. They also are desperate for skilled talent. And so how do we match that together and deliver what they need? Your programs need to be developed in collaboration with business and include work-based learning. Think about how your approach might leverage what businesses are already doing. Businesses are stressed and overwhelmed. They don't have time to take on one more thing. So how might your solution take what they're already doing and make it easier or add value to it so that there is a reason that they would want to work with you and offer those opportunities? Your pitch that you deliver, your program that you deliver, is only as good as what you can actually deliver on. Do not promise more than you can deliver. Under promise, over deliver. The key to sales. So we're going to go into the next part of the agenda, which is the 3 phases of business engagement. So this is really talking about whether you are doing direct one-to-one business engagement, you as an individual or your program going directly to a single employer and having those conversations with them, or if you're doing it collaboratively, which is an excellent approach and you should really take seriously, is to look at collaborations that you can leverage to reach many employers. So you're going to hit your targets and your goals a lot more effectively if you're doing a one-to-many approach rather than only a one-to-one approach. So these strategies of business engagement, research and preparation, that initial conversation and closing the deal can apply in both of those environments. Under phase 1, research and preparation, the things that you really need to think about is, again, don't go into this like, I have this thing to sell you. Recognize what the business pain points are. How can your program really address those pain points? Use research to identify the businesses in your geographic area that most need your support and your help. Research to identify the existing business-led partnerships. As I said, those collaboratives. It might be a talent pipeline management collaborative. It might be a sector partnership. It may be a group that's already convened by a chamber of commerce, a local workforce board, or an education organization. Leverage those collaboratives where they already exist, rather than asking businesses to come to yet one more meeting one more collaborative. So do your research, know what's happening in your geographic area, and work to leverage that. Prepare, and then don't ever forget, you need to be prepared for your first conversation. Don't show up prepared, you won't advance to a second conversation. So in really looking at this first phase of doing your research, it's important that you recognize the challenges. So on one side, you have a list of challenges. On the other side, indicators that would let you know when you do your research whether those challenges exist in your geographic area for your businesses in your targeted industry. So you want to know where the skills gaps are. You want to know if there is an opportunity to development for existing talent, their incumbent workforce. Are businesses looking to attract and retain their talent? What are all of the different things that folks are looking at in addition to the shortage of workers coming out of the pandemic? Are they also anticipating a large retirement or other changes in their business, in their industry? And then those indicators that are in the bullets on the other side. Your job, if there's been a job posting for a really long time, if you're seeing businesses post for mid-level positions, they're having a hard time bringing their people up from entry level to mid-level. There's an opportunity to use work-based learning to take entry-level positions and advance them to those mid-level positions. Or if there's a shortage or an increase in retirements. And then of course, when businesses express interest in customized training or in technical training, that's a very good indicator that they're ready to work with you in your program. So think about how you might identify those indicators and come armed with those to your conversation. When you do your research to identify businesses, really focus in on the industry sectors within your regional economy that fit the definition of the targeted industries of the grant. Look for businesses with openings that relate to those challenges we just talked about. And then also review job descriptions. Job descriptions will tell you a lot about what businesses are looking for, but make sure that when you're reviewing those job descriptions, you aren't just simply writing them off. If, let's say, the job description requires a 4-year degree, and you're saying the folks I'm working with, the majority of them aren't going to have a 4-year degree. In fact, having that knowledge is maybe the perfect way to open a conversation and say, what is it about a 4-year degree that you are requiring in this job description? And how might we be able to demonstrate that a person has those skill sets or help a person get those skill sets in ways other than a 4-year degree that could potentially lead to a 4-year degree down the road rather than having it when they come to work? Another big one that people, businesses do wrong all the time is that requirement for relevant experience. I've actually seen job postings where a business posts that they need someone with 5 years of experience in a specific software, and you go back and look and the software has only existed for 2 years. So it's impossible for anyone, even with the best experience in the world, to meet that criteria. So don't be afraid to push back on those requirements and get the business to really think, ask questions, and get them to think about those requirements and those job descriptions and what really matters at the end of the day. And then keep track of what you learn. What you learn from each individual business or from each conversation with a group of businesses can always be applied to your next conversation, either with that same individual or group or in conversations with others later. So it's really important to understand what you're offering business. If you don't understand what you have to offer and how it brings value to the business, it's going to be really hard for you to get them to buy in and want to participate and be a part of your program. Set forth a return on investment involved in your program. Every program is going to be asking something of the business. Don't just come and say, I can pay for people to get jobs. I can, just throw money at them is not going to solve this problem. Really say, this is what I need from you. This is what I can do for you. Here's the return on investment that you can see based on the time you invest, the job opportunity, the risks that you take. Here's what you'll get back out of it. Consider how you will best utilize this JTED opportunity to offer a unique value to businesses that will help solve the challenges that they're having. Also think about where in your community, where are the needs of individuals and businesses, where have they changed, and where are there programs that you might be able to leverage to address these new realities. If there is an opportunity to work with folks, say you have an opportunity to work with folks who are disabled, do you know everything there is to support a business or an individual with a disability related to serving them? Make sure that you know, and make sure that you know where your program fits into that puzzle, because there is more than enough work to go around, and building the puzzle pieces and putting them together is way more effective than thinking that you're going to be able to develop the entire solution all within your program. So really think about the bullets under the value offered to business here. How are you going to remove risk or add value? How are you going to increase retention rates? That is a huge concern for businesses right now, not just recruiting new, but retaining. And then how will you assist the businesses with recruitment, hiring, onboarding, and or the advancement of incumbent workers? Also, again, just stress those bullets on the right side of the slide. How are you going to partner with the resources that are already out there rather than acting in isolation in your program? Building relationships is critically important. You have to earn the trust of businesses, and you earn that trust by building a relationship. You build a relationship by validating that you truly understand their pain points, by really listening and understanding the culture of the business organization or group, the collaborative, and the industry. There are different cultures in each of those, and they're different within your geographic area. So that's really important to understand the nuances of those and come prepared to demonstrate that you've heard what they said when you're building those relationships. Introduce your program in the context of existing business practices. Again, if it's a bolt-on, if it's one more thing you're asking the business to do, they're already stressed. They're not going to have the capacity to do that. How do you bring it to them as an integrated piece of their talent development strategy? Explore and respect the partnerships that are already there. Again, those sector strategies. Where are those partnerships that I listed earlier? Where are they already happening? And how can you make sure that when you go to a business, you are aware of those partnerships and you're aware of whether they are in them or if they offer an opportunity to engage in them. And through doing all of these things, you will build that trust that is critically important between business. The other thing that I can't stress enough is make sure you always deliver on what you promise. Never, never overpromise, always over-deliver, always follow up. There's nothing worse than not getting that follow-up phone call, that follow-up email, that follow through. Even if follow through is, I researched what you were asking for, I don't have a solution, I wasn't able to find an answer. Even if that's the answer, which ideally you would hope to be able to at least say, here's where you might go for some more resources, but something is always better than nothing. They will respect you for that. So when you're validating those pain points and you're learning about the business culture, don't start with, this is what I have to offer you. Start with questions. Start with, what is the problem statement? Where are your biggest struggles? Is it with incumbent workers? Is it with recruiting and hiring? Is it with training? Where are your pain points? Ask those questions, seek to understand, and don't just ask the questions as a step in the process. Really listen and adapt everything else in that conversation that follows to what they told you. Because if they don't, if you have a canned pitch that you're going to give to every business, and irregardless of what they tell you, you follow your script, you lose all that trust that you're working to build. Also understand what they're already doing to solve that challenge, and think about how you can leverage that with your solution. And then also be aware or ask and think about who they're already working with. You don't need to have an approach of competition with others that are working in the space. Again, there's more than enough work to go around, and you can leverage each other and make it a win-win, not only for you and the business, but for the other partners as well. So when you're thinking about how might we leverage existing business practices, it helps to try to get in the mind of that employer. What are businesses thinking about when they're worried about talent development? They're thinking about they're struggling with adapting in this new environment. They're struggling with being able to be effective in each of these things. And what you need to think about is, okay, if I'm a business and I am struggling with how to recruit, how to assess potential workers, how to onboard staff, how to do staff training, how might I, as my program, help that business do those things, add that value? All businesses do those top things. All businesses have to do all three of those to some extent, and you have the opportunity to streamline it, to add value, to make it better. Some businesses, but not all, also offer retraining of current staff to skill them up for new jobs, to move them from entry level to mid-level positions. Some offer professional development and career advancement opportunities within their business and throughout. There are several businesses that know that their need for entry-level workers, a lot of retail employers know that the majority of their entry-level workers will not stay with them forever because they have a really steep pyramid. They need a lot of entry-level workers, not so many middle and very few at the top. So they have career pathway and career advancement opportunities to help people come into entry-level retail and move up in their career and move out of retail into another industry. They're not afraid of that. Don't be afraid to explore that with them as a solution to getting that mass of entry-level workers that they need, but not holding people down in entry-level jobs. A lot of them won't know how to do that. Your program might be able to help them think through how to do that, how to use work-based learning to grow into your career at that business or on in your career in another business or another within the industry. And then also mentoring, especially in a time when we're all feeling overwhelmed and stressed, is critically important. And businesses typically aren't that comfortable with that mentoring aspect. They are comfortable with building an HR wall of this is what's appropriate for business and this is what isn't. So think about how you might help a business either improve their mentoring program or build a mentoring program, and to help them build something that's comfortable and appropriate for their business. And then also think about, when we're talking about the supportive services, what are additional services that you could help businesses offer, or you could offer in partnership with the business that could increase retention and productivity, things around childcare, transportation, but also those life skills and that work-life balance, mentoring and support. Is that, if that's something that the businesses aren't comfortable doing at work, is that something that your program can offer those individuals so that they don't get overwhelmed by, I have a flat tire on my car, therefore I have to quit my job because I don't have a flat tire fixed. We all know in a normal environment, those things wouldn't happen. A person would call in and say, I have this issue, I have to get it taken care of, and it would be okay. When a person is stressed, they might just not even bother calling in. And then when they show up 3 days later, because they finally got around to getting their tire fixed, their employer is saying, sorry, I got to let you go. You've gone for 3 days and you didn't call in sick. So how do you manage that? How do you manage that with both the employer side and the individual side to understand expectations and to solve that challenge? It's that connection is a very real challenge that you have the opportunity to address in your programs. When you're talking to business, it's really important that you speak their language. It's really easy for those of us in workforce development or in nonprofit worlds, and I've lived in all. I've been a business owner, I've worked in business engagement, I've worked in government, I've managed nonprofits, I've created and managed nonprofits. We all have our own speak, and one isn't better than the other. It's just what it is. We all have our nuances to our language. When you're speaking to business, you need to get comfortable speaking their language. Are some examples of workforce speak to business speak. So just think about when you're preparing for that conversation, whether it's with a single or a multiple, really think through what you're going to say and how you might tweak your language to use the words that businesses use. And if you're not sure you know those words, reach out to someone that does. Reach out to a business member, family member who is a business person, and practice your presentation. Adjust your words with somebody that you're comfortable with so that you can go in and you can make your employers feel comfortable because you're speaking their language. Again, I already addressed this in the opening slide, but I'm going to address it again. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Always build on your first conversation. Even if the first conversation wasn't successful and you don't think it's going to go to a next step, follow up for closure. Thank them for their time. Ask them to send leads to you if they know of somebody you might be able to support. Always, always follow up. Be ready to have clear action steps before you leave that meeting. Review the action steps. Always do what you say you're going to do. And try before the end of the meeting to create an incentive as to why they would want to talk to you again, why they want to look forward to that next meeting and the information that you're going to bring to them. Now, I want to put a little nuance into that, which is oftentimes I see nonprofit and workforce programs lay out a process of 10 meetings to get to an outcome. And so it's like, well, this is what we're doing in meeting number 1, and you have to meet with me again in meeting number 2 to get this next piece. Please don't do that. Please go at the pace of business. If they're willing to accomplish the first 3 things that you would normally do in 3 meetings in the first meetings, do it. What does it matter? Don't expect them to show up for 10 meetings if you can get done what needs to be done in 2 to 4 meetings. Adapt and work with them on a schedule that works at the speed of business with business. And oftentimes when people hear the word speed of business, they assume that means a lot faster than the rest of the world works. That's not necessarily true. You have to take into the factors. Where are they right now? What's their timeline? What are they capable of? How stressed are they? And how do you deliver at the pace that works for them? Don't automatically assume faster is always better. Identify the pace that works for business and work with them at that pace. Building trust. So I covered a lot of this, but again, the key points are provide some key things that you can do to drive it home, provide some examples of things that you're doing with other employers. Even if your program's brand new and you don't have specific examples of what you've done, you can do your research and find similar programs in other areas, even in other states if you have to demonstrate how a program similar to yours is successful for other businesses. Offer them an opportunity to connect them with a peer, to have a conversation about what you're doing and how it's been successful for that peer. And most importantly, clearly articulate the value of working with you and that what you are asking of them. Don't downplay their role in this partnership, because you will not build trust if you make it seem like there's nothing they have to do. In reality, there are things that they have to do. Be honest and clearly articulate what you're asking. Also, again, promise less, deliver more. Do not overcommit more than you can actually deliver on. So getting to commitment. You can do all of the research. You can build all the relationships. You can have great friends in the business community. You can have a great network. But if you don't get to close, it really isn't going to matter for your program. So in the sales world, we say ABC, always be closing. I adapt that a little bit, that you should always be thinking about the close, thinking about Where do I have an opportunity to really partner with this business, to really provide a service to this business? And how am I going to bring them in? And if I am not a good fit, how do I eloquently acknowledge that our program is not a good fit and help connect that business with other resources that may be a better fit? Because if your concept is that you are a good fit for every single business, you are going to live in a world of disappointment, and that gets exhausting. So give yourself permission to say, I'm seeking businesses who really need me. I am working to close opportunities with businesses that I can legitimately help. And those who aren't a good fit for our program, I'm going to do the best that I can to connect them with someone else who can help them deal with their challenges and their issues that they're having. So as you're getting commitment, we're going to cover addressing concerns, building organizational buy-in, because just one person isn't enough, and bringing the right people to the table for the conversations. So getting a commitment in writing to participate in the program. This is important. It doesn't need to be a legal document. It doesn't need to be this big, huge thing that's going to get tied up with all the attorneys on both sides. But having something, some simple letter of commitment, something that business or organization says to you, yes, we're at the table, we're here, we're working with you. We commit to hiring 3 people. We commit to conducting a series of trainings for our current workforce. We commit to helping develop the curriculum for the training program that you're going to develop. Whatever it is, whatever your ask is of them, get that commitment in some kind of writing. Even if it's an email from a person who has the authority to send in writing, whatever works for you, but make sure that it's clear, that it's clearly articulated what commitment you've asked them to make and that they've agreed to do. Provide a plan for working together. Make sure that it's, you've got A and Z, all those steps in between have to happen. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, but the business needs to see how you're going to get from where you are today to where the business needs to be as a result of their partnership with you. And then again, this is the saying a different thing, or the same thing in a different way. Do what you say, do more than you say you'll do, and provide value every single time you interact with that business. Do not overpromise and always follow through. Think about, where are our challenges in this economy? Really think about the public health challenges and all of the things that businesses are facing. Workforce is a gigantic challenge for them. It's not the only challenge. When I say workforce, I mean workforce recruitment, hiring, training, retention. Behind that, you've also got all these other issues of providing a safe work environment, complying with the new COVID rules and regulations around time off and leave and all of the other pieces. Really think about, what are the occupations with the greatest demand now into the next 3 months or so, or like January to March, the first 3 months of the program. What are those occupations that are going to be the most impacted, and how might you work with other partners to ensure that you can deliver fast returns, low business investment, and active program participation? How might you use those sector strategies, talent pipeline management coalitions, sector partnerships, chamber, college, workforce board, existing business-led collaboratives that are coming together? How might you leverage those strategies to focus and work with multiple businesses at once, one to many? And how might you engage existing business partners in business-to-business conversations? So again, think about your Rolodex. Who have you worked with in the past? Who would you want to know, was sitting at a table of their peers and we're saying, oh yeah, you ought to go work with Stephanie. She's great. She delivers on what she says. Who is that? Who's that group? Who are your table? Who's at your table of business partners who trust you, believe in you, and will recommend you to someone else? Give them talking points, bring them together, ask them for their help. Ask them to talk about your program to businesses, and ask them to be a peer, so that when you have a business say, I want to talk to another business about this, you've got your list of peers that you can refer them to. So really think about how you can engage any existing relationships that you already have. With that, I am going to share with you a few business engagement tools. These are in the PowerPoint deck that Christian already shared in the chat, and they'll be posted on the website. I shared, these are some links that provide multiple tools for business engagement, and I try to really focus on the ones that would be most relevant to the JTED applications. So the first link is a link to an organization that provides business engagement tools specifically to people who are with disabilities. So Voc Rehabilitation, what are the business engagement strategies when you're working with someone, when you're working with individuals who have disabilities or working with businesses? I can't stress enough, you really need to talk to businesses about the advantages of hiring a diverse workforce, including people with disabilities. If you're always talking about the individual's disability instead of their unique abilities, it's going to be hard to get businesses to think outside the box and recognize the value. Many businesses intentionally recruit people with different abilities so that they can better serve their clients. So you think of companies like Microsoft. Microsoft goes out and actively recruits people with a variety of disabilities because they know if their staff that are developing their products are looking at those products with a lens that is different, that is like the individuals they want using their products, they'll be better products and they'll work better for those individuals. This is especially true for people with disabilities. So go to businesses, talk about the services that are available to reduce the risk to business in hiring individuals with disabilities, the accessibility resources that are there, the training that could be done for the businesses and the individuals and their staff. Really think about how you can deliver. You can go to a business and say, your company will be stronger by having a diverse workforce. A diverse workforce includes individuals with disabilities, and we have a package of solutions that can help you leverage the unique abilities of this great population that we can bring to your door that you probably are completely missing out of because you misunderstand the opportunity, the resources, and how they can help. That's one example and an important one. And so I wanted to share some specific resources. Those are in the first link. Also, apprenticeship. Work-based learning is so much more than just apprenticeship. There are all types of work-based learning, but apprenticeship is really growing like crazy. Illinois is really well known for the great apprenticeship work that you're doing. There are a lot of business engagement resources out there for apprenticeship. So this link is focused on apprenticeship related resources. And I would say that every resource that's developed specifically for apprenticeship can also be used in varying degrees for any work-based learning program. So really good resources there. This is a link to a main page that has a ton of other resources and links on Workforce GPS. And then the business service delivery recovery resources. This is a page on Workforce GPS that was specifically developed on behalf of USDOL to help workforce developers understand what business services delivery looks like in a time of recovery. And so there are a lot of really good tidbits and resources specifically about this time of recovery and how to adjust or adapt your business services during this time. So a great resource there. And then this one is one of my favorites because you can just print it out and keep it. It's a PDF, but it's tips for engaging businesses during economic recovery. And it's really like a two-pager quick tips to keep in the front of your mind as you're writing your proposal, as you're developing your program. as you're going out and delivering services to businesses or recruiting businesses to be a part of your program. So I hope those business engagement tools will be very helpful to you. We're going to have Q&A. Before we jump to Q&A, I just want to make sure that you all know that there is a slide here with the application deadline, which is 5:00 p.m. Central Time, October 29th. Don't be late. Don't wait until 4:45 to submit your application, because it probably won't make it. There's always the technology goes somewhere. So be ready, submit before the deadline. And then if you have any questions or on the requirements, there is a great FAQ page on Illinois WorkNet that you can go to. There's also an excellent place where you can put your question in. For if it isn't already in the FAQs, you can put your question in, and I've highlighted that specific link back here on the last thank you slide. So again, we're going to wrap up with questions and answers. Again, I'm Stephanie Beck. I am the business engagement coach for the Illinois Workforce Innovation Board, and we're going to have about 30 minutes, I believe, for Q&A. And so, or no, sorry, about 15 minutes for Q&A, and we will, but I want you to know that these links are here in the PowerPoint deck so that you can get what you need related to applying to the JTED opportunity. And so with that, we will go over to some questions. And Christian, I will be honest, I just couldn't look at the list of questions. Could you share some of the questions with me that were asked?
Yeah, so we didn't really have any, and most of the chat is just people responding to your introducing themselves and their county. Someone asked, thank you for your representation on business inclusion of persons with disabilities. Can you repost the link? I'm not sure, Martha, what link you were specifically discussing, though.
Yeah, Martha, the link that you're talking about is actually in the deck that Kirsten shared earlier.
Yeah,
but
I think I was later to the conversation, so I was just asking if you could repost that.
Yes,
yeah.
I will repost that right now.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you, Martha. I forget that our virtual tools, if someone joins a little bit late, they don't get to see the chat that happened before they got there. That's a great question. Thank you. Anything else? Is there anything, not even necessarily a question? I'm guessing there are probably some experts on this call who've been doing business engagement for a while and have experienced some of the things that I talked about and may have a different perspective. I'm absolutely open to different perspectives. So is there anything that anyone would like to share for the betterment of the group related to business engagement and building a program?
I guess this is Martha. We've had a few businesses that have gone MIA on us in the middle of the process. And, you know, it seems like you invest a lot of time and effort and they don't even explain, you know, why they've dropped out of the conversation. I don't know if you have any strategies for that.
So one of the first things I would do is I would take an honest look at, and this is probably would take a collective group of the people that are working on your project, to take a look at what happened leading up to them disappearing. Is there any possibility that maybe they kind of sent signals that they weren't feeling like their needs were being met, or they weren't getting enough out of the partnership that you guys might have missed? And does it give you some hint to something that you might be able to do to go back with a fresh or a new ask of them, or to say, you know, at the time that you brought this issue up, we weren't in a place to really be ready to have an answer for that. We have that answer now, and go back to them kind of acknowledging that maybe they were a little bit ahead of the game, or maybe they weren't, but you could make it sound like they were so they don't feel bad about going MIA, but they can come back in at that point. I think it's always good if you have an opportunity, you and your team have tried to re-engage them and it's total chirping, total silence. Is there another business person that was a part of those early conversations when they were engaged, that maybe that business person would reach out and just say, hey, we've really missed you. Is there anything that we can do to help get you re-engaged? Here's an update on what's going on lately. What might we be able to do? Just even if it's just to get an answer, because you never know. I mean, it may have something critical may have happened that nobody knows about or is aware of. I helped convene a manufacturing sector partnership where the vice chair disappeared for months and nobody really understood what was going on. He wasn't responding to email, nothing was happening. And we're like, this guy was so engaged. And then so the chair personally went over to his business and reached out and found out that his CFO had passed away. And so this guy was, you know, already super busy, super engaged in his own business and everything else. But with the CFO of the company passing away, he got all of that dumped on his desk as well. And he just kind of checked out of the whole universe except for what was on his work desk that day. And, you know, nobody would have known that if the chair hadn't just gone over to his office and said, you know, hey, can we have coffee? And so that's even harder now, where a lot of people are working 100% virtually. But that would be probably my biggest suggestion is see if there's somebody else that isn't staff to the project that might be able to do that check-in for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or challenges or suggestions for Martha? Does anyone on the call already participate in existing collaborative of businesses in your region? And if so, are you considering using that for your application? Boy, everybody's quiet today. All right, well, I'm not going to put you all on the spot any longer. I wish you the best of luck with your applications to JTED. I think it is remarkable that the state of Illinois is really thinking about how to invest in closing this barrier, this gap between the ability for workers to go back to work or be successful in work, and businesses to be able to offer those opportunities. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining today and considering applying to be a part of the solution. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.